Well, good morning, everybody. Gosh, it's Thursday. It is Thursday. And Kraig Kann back with Mike Mooney for another edition of Elevating You, reaching your
Hello.
peak with brand new career conversation that's designed to help you get to a new place in your career. Mike, like happy holiday season to you, man.
How are you,
How
buddy?
you doing? What's going on?
Listen, I'm great. I'm great. It's great to see you. Great to be back. We had a few
Yeah.
weeks off here. Listen, it's hard to believe or think that it was a week ago today that was Thanksgiving. And I was
Mm-hmm.
thinking about this time last week. I had a 18-pound turkey and my big green egg that was
That
just
thing
starting to
looked
smoke.
so good. Unbelievable, man.
Let me tell you, it was out of this world, man. You know, I've smoked our turkey on the egg the last couple of Thanksgivings, and it's been phenomenal. I got this little trick that I learned
Yeah.
about a year and a half ago, where you work in between the skin and the breast, right, and you kind of get a little butter marinade in there. But then I take bacon and I layer bacon in there.
There you
So the
go.
bacon is like cooking and working that bird and. Ooh, it's so good. It was good. So we had a family over, some good friends, and it was great. There's so much to be thankful for.
Good for you. Well,
Yeah,
to
man.
everybody out there, we've been away for I don't know a month. I look back end of October. We've both been traveling.
Yeah.
You've had some keynote speeches. I've had a couple of keynote speeches and some workshops and different things. And so things got in the way. And having said that, here we are in the holiday season. We're trying to wind down and all that, but we're pretty busy. So that's a
Yeah.
good thing. And I'm happy for you.
Same with
Glad.
you, bud.
We'll get into some other things as well. But to all of you out there, thanks for sticking with us. If you saw my little video on the back porch this morning and Mike's post yesterday, thanks for joining us. Always good to be with you as we talk career. What do you got back there?
Mike?
Oh,
I forgot my placement.
Promo.
I forgot my placement.
Okay, yeah, product placement. There you go. Holiday gift idea for you. Where can they get that, by the way?
You can get that at mikemooney.com, where I would personally sign it for you, or you can get it off of Amazon as well. And the audio version is on Audible. So
there you go.
Check it out.
By the way, Can You Get Our Attention? The book that I've been talking about for the better part of a year. You can get it. Yes, you could get it on Amazon, but that doesn't truly help me during the holidays. And I'm trying to help other people. So if you go to cannadvisory.com, you'll see this picture of the book with the ornaments around it. And then there's a little red button below it that says signed autographed copy. Hit that button. I sign it. I personalize it. I send it to you. Free shipping. 25% of all the proceeds from any book. So for all of you out there, if you want to buy a gift for somebody else, Mike's book, my book, here's the thing. For me, if you buy my book, give it to somebody else, buy it for yourself, 25% of the proceeds are going to help military families in need. And given the year that we've had with Afghanistan and all the troops coming back and what they've done for our country, service and protecting our freedoms, I want to give back. So Operation Help a Hero, Operation Christmas Spirit. It's something that's been around for 18 years, nonprofit. Money goes straight to them. I called the lady. She's in charge of it, and her husband is a Marine. They've been doing this for a while.
It's awesome.
She got teary, and she was thrilled at the opportunity that money would come to help families who might not have toys or gifts, and they're back from being deployed or they're going out. And so really great cause. So I'm writing the check. You buy my book and you'll help me help them. So that's that, cannadvisory.com. Okay. With that, let's get into today's topic. I want to remind everybody that Elevating You gives you the opportunity for comments and questions, and we take them, and you'll see one of the comments in just a little bit as we get through this today. But this is the Power 30 minutes. We've kind of changed it. We used to do like an hour, and then we said, you know what? Mike and Kraig talking for an hour, for gosh sakes, let's let's not go there. Okay.
I felt like we went from like the lazy 60 to the Power 30, and just kind of like tightened it up a little bit. You know what I mean? But I think, the feedback we're getting from the community has been wonderful. Like, hey, that's great. We're going to get in, we're going to hit it. We're going to get back to our day and get rolling. This is just a great way to kind of get that sort of like towards the end of the week boost as you're trying to finish this week strong. So
there you go. Well, last time we got together back end of October, the topic was comfort, like being in a comfort zone and why it's not the greatest thing, the silent career killer. And we, talked about steps to take steps forward in your career. And so I just want to touch on that, just briefly. What I would say is, and this is where we kind of went last time, Mike, you and I are pretty motivated guys. And I think a lot of our audience out there, motivated people. There's an interesting question coming up later in this program that we're going to touch on. But I think sometimes when we get stuck in a comfort zone, not only do we, I don't want to say we get lazy, but we don't provide the best of ourselves. We need to find goals. And I think it's really important to look at your year in maybe quadrants or, quarters or thirds, whatever it is. What do you want to achieve in the first quarter? That's what companies and corporations do. So individually, what's something that you can achieve in your workplace, right? And also what's something that you can do outside of your workplace that is going to make you feel better about you. I think that's important. And when we end up feeling stuck, nothing much happens. And a lot of people get overwhelmed by thoughts in their mind and don't know necessarily where to go. Hopefully some of you out there have kind of overcome this. What I'll say to you and let you take it from here is nothing great ever comes from within a comfort zone.
That's right.
Our
Nothing
best
grows there.
successes come from when we get a little edgy, right?
Yeah. Because if you want to use the sports analogy to it, it gets you up on the balls of your feet. You're not back on your heels, and that's something that I always think about. Growing up playing baseball, I was a pitcher and played first base. So first base, when you're getting ready, you're not on your heels. The coach is always, up on your feet, I think that living life in that place is healthy and good because it can take us to spaces and places that we didn't think we could get to. Now, I do recall one comment that was made because remember, friends, you can always hit us up and make comments. I'm following on the Facebook live stream right now.
Mike has been tremendous at that. It's one of his best skills, everybody.
Thank you. I'll put it on LinkedIn. Would you put a recommendation in for me on LinkedIn? For
I
that?
will.
But I remember somebody saying to the effect that this isn't verbatim, but the point was that there's nothing wrong with being in a role that you're comfortable doing. And I said that's an interesting point. Right? There's nothing wrong with being in a role that you're comfortable doing. I would encourage those people, I think you would say the same, Kraig, is, okay, great. So how can you continue to grow in that role? Where are the places that you can kind of get uncomfortable in that space that so you can continue to deliver value and stretch yourself and push yourself and, be more within that place. So I would just encourage us, and I love your idea of breaking it down into steps and micro steps. I heard something the other day that I thought was really smart, and it was this idea of, don't think of the entire project. Just think of what can you do at first to start. And the analogy was sometimes people say, oh, it's too late in the day to go work out or go do that run or whatever it is. I don't have 45 minutes. And the way they positioned it was, well, do you have 2 minutes? Can you just start? Can you just do 2 minutes of it? Because typically when you start it, then you keep going and you start feeling the benefit of it. And before you know it, you're doing it. So I like that idea. Break it down, make it simple.
Well, we both love baseball, and we're in a lockout situation right now. And by the way, America's team, the White Sox, have basically made very few big splash moves, and they can feel free to jump into the game at any time in free agency. Thank you very much. But to use your point that you just said, look, if you're trying to get around the bases, right, you hit a single. Okay, it's steps, right? Somebody's got to bunch over to second base or another single to get you to second. So think of it in, all right, how do I get to first base? How do I get to second base with my career? And what can I do to move the ball forward to get that run across the plate and feel like I achieved something? I think that's important. You got something?
Fiona, she hasn't been with us for a while. It's great to have you back, Fiona.
Yeah, thanks for being back, Fiona.
She put in here, if you don't have moments of discomfort in your career, then you're not growing. And it's so true.
Totally true. Yeah.
Appreciate that.
And, COVID, I think, gave us some of those for you and I. By the way, everybody, I'm going to post a picture next week of Mike Mooney and I actually linked up
I was wondering when you were going to bring it up, man.
Yeah, LinkedIn. I mean, folks, did you see the picture? Feel free to comment on that amazing picture of Mike Mooney and I hanging out together in downtown Charlotte on a rooftop with a couple of we'll call them cocktails. Beverages. Yeah. And had a great time, big chat, a lot of things we were talking about 2022, and we're going to share some of those thoughts that we had next week in our final year-end wrap-up. Okay,
for sure. But can I just say something real quick? For our friends out there, and I mentioned this to one of my buddies I was talking to, and he had mentioned it about seeing the picture, and I said, that's the first time Kraig and I have met in person.
I know, isn't that crazy?
I said, it's the first time we've known each other, been connected for like 4+ years, and it's the first time. And it's funny, he said, you'd never know it. You'd never know it, by the way. And totally, I was like, well, look, it was awesome, man.
Yeah, and here's the funny thing, folks, just a little side thing here. So I went up, Mike was hanging out in the hotel lobby where I was staying. I was there for a book signing, and Mike lives in Charlotte. And so I walk in, and here I am to shake his hand. And he's like, no, man, that ain't not happening. We get the full on bro hug. So it was all good. It was great to see you, buddy. That's it, man. All right. So with that, I'm going to go back to the topic that we had, which was the silent career killer. Bottom line, folks, take steps, jot them down. What do you want to achieve? You can start looking ahead to next year, and we're going to talk about that next time we get together next week. Here's the topic today. Today's topic is, what's your big differentiator? Standing out and staying ahead. Okay. And I think it's important for people to figure out, you hear a lot like, what's your why? What's your purpose? Yeah. What's all that? Okay. I want to take it in a different direction. And we all have to figure out, look, we're all in different industries. What separates us from somebody else? Now, I'm just going to give you a little off the beaten path example, 2 things. And this is what I would want you guys to think about here as you're listening. Number 1, I travel and I do workshops. Mike does workshops as well. And I saw some pictures of Mike doing a leadership workshop the other day for a corporation. I believe it was in Charlotte. I don't remember if you traveled or where that was. I do them as well. Okay. When somebody comes up to me after I'm done and says, man, I just had an amazing experience today. I've been to a lot of workshops. Nobody does it like that. Now you're getting the idea of what I'm trying to do. I want mine to be completely different. My differentiator. I have certain differentiators within my workshop for corporations and people to help them go next level that nobody else does. The green shoe being one of them. You can see one over my shoulder there. All right. The second thing is, I do a radio show on Sirius XM. I do it on Wednesday nights. It might be moving next year, but nonetheless, there's a lot of shows on the radio. And when I took over this show, it used to be 1 hour, and they said, Kraig, we want you to do 2. I said, all right, I don't want my show to be like anybody else's. So my show is very packed with guests within the golf space, talking PGA Tour and all of that. And every time I sit down to get ready for the next show, the questions that I ask, I don't want to have been asked by other people on other shows during the day. I got to find out how my show, if somebody listens to it, says, okay, that's unique. Nobody does a show like that. Okay. Yeah. So we all have our differentiators. What are yours? Mike, your thoughts on this topic?
You caught me mid-sip there, brother. I think it's one of the most difficult things to sometimes find in ourselves because it takes us having to be methodical and strategic, and then most importantly, owning it and owning it. Where I come, well, and I'm sure we'll kind of jump into what yours is and mine, but the way I look at it, quite honestly, is there are 2 components of your differentiators. For me, there's the internal and there's the external.
Okay.
Right. The internal is that essence of who you are, right? That authenticity, what it is about you that's different. And then there's the external, which is the skill. So it's what you bring from here and then what you do and then bring to others externally. Right. So, it could be something where there are people, for instance, who have like a high degree of focus. Like that's their focus, and that for them is an internal thing about them, right? And they know that. Well, maybe they take that in their skill. Maybe they're an engineer. Maybe they're in financial sectors where that is a huge benefit because they're great at it. Their focus helps them do the work that they do that makes them different and makes them stand out. So it takes time to, again, in my opinion, to figure those things out. But I think a lot of us already know what that is because we've been told. You're complimented on something, about what you do, and you're like, I just kind of do that. I don't do anything special. No, that's what makes you different. That's your differentiator, but you got to own it. You just need to own that.
So in my workshop, we do this little exercise and we focus for the company on, who they are, what they do, why they do it, what their differentiators are. And a lot of people could come up with something. They go, well, our culture is great. Well, if I brought another of your competitors in here, another company, I highly doubt they're going to walk in front of a room and go, one thing we don't have is a great culture. No, they're not going to say that, so everybody's going to so we have to dig deeper. We have to find out something that's even more specific to that. So there's this little exercise that I do where they're in a group and I have people write down their strengths, what they believe to be their strengths. They don't show it to anybody. And they're in a group with people that they work with. And then those people write down what they believe that other person's strength is, what they witness, what they see, what they hear. And then they share that with the person who's already written down their own. And what happens is that person, if all of a sudden what they wrote down about themselves matches some of the things that are said by others, that's your brand. That's your differentiator. That's the thing that people notice about you that truly stands out. But it begins with self-reflection and thinking about you. Okay. That's what's important. And it's an exercise that everybody needs to go through. If you're trying to go interview for a job, like I just had a buddy of mine reach out to me yesterday, says he's got a big job interview and he needs a little guidance. Not like I'm going to, make or break whether he gets the job or not. But I think what he's probably trying to figure out is he's gonna get offered this job. What is he gonna accomplish there? What's he gonna do to separate himself? What's his challenge? And when he was interviewing, I guarantee you, one of the thoughts going through the minds of those that interview are, what separate you, buddy or ma'am, from anybody else that we might be interviewing for this position? And you have to be able to have that true answer. So with that, so what's your differentiator, Mike?
Well, this is what I love about these conversations, Kraig, and where we go with this, and this isn't by any way scripted, friends. This is just sort of like as we go. Is there's an exercise in there that I think everyone can do if they're interested in finding that differentiator. You just said it. Get coffee with a friend, hop on Zoom with them, and just say, "Hey, write down the 2 things about me. I've got my 2 things, right?" And you may even learn some things about yourself. I did this as a bit of an audit in a way for my brand about a year ago, and it's about time for me to do it again, where I reached out to about 15 people and I asked them the questions. I said, so if you were to introduce me to somebody, what is it that you would say that I do, and what value and impact do I bring? Because I want to get a sense of what other people are saying and see if there's alignment or are there gaps. Or quite honestly, the beauty in that too, Kraig, was I heard things that I didn't even see in myself, but other people did. And one of my favorite quotes, right, is it's tough to read the label when you're inside the jar. So this is a way to kind of get someone to read your label so you can see what others are seeing too.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Okay, so back to the question. What's your differentiator? Give me one of your differentiators.
Well, I think for me, so I'm going to go back to the internal-external part of this. And the internal part, I think, in my essence and who I am is an openness, right? And that openness has led me to be able to build connections with people very easily, very quickly. It's allowed me to kind of like condense the time it would take to authentically connect with people and individuals and have some like meaningful interactions with folks. And that has then led to my external sort of differentiator, which I believe I do very well, which is communicating. So the ability to take my internal differentiator, which is authentically connecting with people, and then layering that in with being able to communicate in a way that brings people into a conversation that might inspire them and empower them and motivate them, or help them see something in themselves. that helps my work every day, because that's what I'm doing. I have to be out there connecting with people to see how I can then help and serve them, their teams, their organizations in a way that they hadn't seen before. And to do it in a way that is authentic and doesn't feel like it's forced, that just feels like, hey, we're having a conversation here. I want to get to know you and your needs, and vice versa. I've just found that to be extremely beneficial for, throughout my career, quite honestly, but in this world that I am now as a professional speaker and trainer and coach.
Yeah. That's great. I would agree with all of those. Actually.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
I would agree with those.
And that's where I was saying before, the authenticity is key for people to see that in you from the inside out is what's important. Elaine had written in here, it's about the head and the heart. Which
she could travel with me. I talk about that all the time when people are presenting in front of a room and they get stuck or they feel nervous. I said, you just got to rely on two things. If you've lost your way, go to head and heart, the passion that you have and the experiences that you remember, and share those with people. I think that's brilliant. Thanks to her. Comments right here. You can send them. Mike's looking at them. You can also email info@kannadvisory.com, and you'll find a way to get those to us. And we appreciate that very much. Look, here's the thing. Everybody's got some inner genius. Everybody's got some strength, right? For some people, it might be executive presence. You walk into a room and everybody pays attention to you, and everybody kind of is on edge to hear what you have to say. And they're very keen on listening because that's the type of person you are. Some people have that. Other people are really good in very difficult situations, right? Something happens, they have a calm, they have a peace about them. They're very good at thinking through things, leading people through troubled waters, all of that. Not everybody can do that. Some people get anxious, nervous, and they don't settle down. Some people are great in meetings and they share a lot of things. Other people are more comfortable sitting in the back taking notes, and they're not necessarily somebody who pushes the envelope and makes that conversation maybe a little uncomfortable for the betterment of the organization. The bottom line is that what we have to figure out is what we can do to make our biggest difference. So if somebody said, Kraig, what is your differentiator? I'm going to share one of the things that people say about me. It's been said twice, two different occasions, and I've gone with it, and it's fine. Ideas factory is one of them. An ideas guy. So that gets said a lot in different ways. That can be a really good thing, or it can be a guy's got so many ideas, we don't know which one, to do. But I think one of my skills in that is that I'm able to take the best of the idea and get it across the line. I'm not afraid. And I believe that's a differentiator that I have. In other words, if I'm trying to pitch to you, Mike, I know what I sell and I know what I deliver, and I'm not afraid to tell people about it. But I do it in a way, I hope, that is about solving their needs and lifting them up, not promoting myself, but what I do can do to help them. I think that's very important. So ideas is definitely, I believe, one of my differentiators. The other one that I would take, what you want to respond to that?
Well, I was just going to say, no, I agree. And I like the fact that it's true. You're comfortable in your skin and what it is that you're bringing to the table, which allows you to stand tall and say, this is what it is. And here's the reality too, Kraig, you may not be for everyone. We're not for everyone. That's okay. That's okay. So maybe it's not for you right now. Not a problem.
The other one that I would say is that I believe I know how to own a room. Okay. I can walk into a room. I know I have a presentation. And while I might have this, we'll call it trained broadcaster type of being able to command, I try to make it conversational and try to make it engaging and empowering. And I don't deliver talks, I deliver experiences. 100%. I believe experience is the right word. And that's what I want people to feel when they walk out. Like if there's a book signing afterwards and everybody's got a copy of my book, there either is going to be a line or there's not. You know what I'm saying? And if there's no line, I didn't do my job. If there's a line and they want to come chat, I've done my job. And I try to over deliver every single time. If I go in to do a talk for an hour and a half or whatever it might be, then I'm going to give them at least an hour and a half of my time elsewhere. Maybe it's a dinner the night before, whatever it might be, to engage and to own that room. And I believe that's one of my other differentiators. And I think it's important to have those. Any other comments before we start to put the wraps on today? Because I got two things I want to run through real quick.
Let's see. Anne popped in here. When you're having a one-to-one, it's also helpful to hear what the other person thinks are not your best qualities and why.
Yeah.
I think that's interesting. Good,
Okay, I mean, that's where you can improve, right? And that's not always the most comfortable thing for people. Here's what I would say, Mike. For everybody out there, being in front of people, and it could be virtually, it could be in a room where you're doing a presentation, it could be in a meeting. Being in front of people is your opportunity if you take it. If you stand out, it becomes your brand. That's your true differentiator. How do you stand out? What are you able to do? And I think that's something that's important. We want to stand tall and we want to be able to get noticed by other people. We got to find out what that differentiator is for each and every person. So there's that. Here's the question, the last thing before we go today that I wanted to pitch to you as we have a couple of minutes left. And we take these comments from people when they email in or they, chime in on our Facebook page. I think this is really interesting at this time of year. Everyone seems to have checked out at my company right now. I'm not ready to do that. I want to finish strong. So how do I make a late year impact when others might not even care to pay attention? That's a really good, and I think it's a fair thing. I think it goes on in a lot of places. So what's your take on that?
It doesn't. And for me, it's one of those things where I wonder, well, are the people checked out? Are they the senior executives to notice or care or pay attention, or is it your peers? Ultimately, in my opinion, it doesn't really matter. If you were there to make an impact late year, then you just put your head down and get the work done. The numbers, the results are going to speak for itself at that point. A lot of different ways we can go with that one. But I just think that if you just stay in your lane, it is going to help you stand out. It's going to help, your bottom line results and get you set up for a strong Q1 start in 2022.
It's like, worrying about what others say and what others do and comparing yourself to others. Don't do that. Just focus on yourself. Again, we could go back to what we talked about earlier. Okay, we got 3 weeks left in the year or whatever it is, 2 weeks before Christmas, and nobody really seems to do anything after Christmas before the new year. Okay, what do you want to achieve? Write down 2 things and go, you know what, I'm going to do this. And I'm not going to do it for anybody else. I'm going to do it for me. I'm going to finish strong so that when I'm sitting around with my family by the tree at Christmas, I say, I achieved this. I finished strong. And I think that's important. I know a lot of people do check out and people don't return emails and they don't do phone calls. And they say, it's very easy to go, catch me in January. That really bothers me because I think people sometimes just say, I'm done with that. Don't be that person. Go the extra mile and do that. And
Absolutely.
So with that, appreciate everybody's comments, questions, and continue to send those to us at info@kannadvisory.com. Here is the topic next time. And Mike and I talked about this. Recharge and refocus 2022. So what we're going to talk about next time is looking ahead with a winning mindset. How do we recharge our battery? How do we refocus our attention? So I'm excited about that. And with that, Mike, I'm going to let you kind of take us out with some final thoughts and a goodbye, something you can give people for the rest of this week.
Well, I mean, first off, I just want to say thank you again for everybody who is, following along, commenting. This is great. We love it. We love it.
No,
absolutely.
Can't do it without them.
I would just say, just a reminder, next week is our last episode for 2021, and that's going to give us time to recharge and refocus over this holiday season to come in 2022. We got some interesting things coming along. So I would just say, again, at this time, let's just continue to be grateful for each other and, look at the things in our lives that are working, and the areas in our lives where we can share more love and be more connected with those around us.
When we do this at the end, I always go with things that are topical and what's going on right now. So I'm going to share 2 things. Number one, we've got a coaching carousel in college football, and all the coaches are going all over the place. And nobody seems to be present. They're moving, they're shifting, and people are having to deal with disappointment. Kids are like, I signed with so-and-so, and the coach is gone. Folks, be present where you are. Mike talks about that a lot. Be present where you are. Enjoy the moment. Because you might not have the same job in 6 months because you chose to, or because something else comes your way. When you're there, be present.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these coaches moving all over the place. Be present where you are. Accept your reality. Make the most of it. And the second thing that's going on, Mike and I are big baseball guys, there's a lockout. Okay? What I want you to think about is not locking out yourself from others the rest of the year. Actually, if you're going to do anything the rest of this year, make great connections that can actually help your 2022. And we're going to talk more about that next week.
Next week.
Use the time to share and appreciate and thank people for what they've done for you in the year that you just had. So there's my goodbye.
Couldn't agree more. That's awesome, man.
All good. Really appreciate it, Mike. And to all of you for spending the time with us, elevating you Thursdays, and we got one left. It's inspiring career growth conversation, casual cup of coffee, the whole bit. Mike, really appreciate the time today, buddy. Best to you and to all of you out there. Have a great rest of the week, and we'll see you next week on Elevating You.
Cheers, everyone.